Are you stuck deciding between claw or paddles on controller? Well, then this video's for you. I'll break down the real pros and cons of both, so by the end you'll know exactly what's best for you so you can finally switch. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. So let's start with claw, one of the most popular grips for controller players in Fortnite. It's where you use your index finger to press the face buttons so your thumb never leaves the stick. That means smoother movement, faster edits, and overall quicker mechanics. Now we're going to go over the pros and cons of claw. So starting off with the pros, pro number one is more control over your movement. So what I mean by this is, as I said earlier, you don't have to take your thumb off the sticks, meaning you can edit and build more easily and more smooth. This is going to allow you to have more control over everything. This is one of the most important pros because it changes how you play. Pro number two, you only need a standard controller. You don't need to spend £150 plus on a scuf or a custom controller. Claw works on basic PS4, PS5, Xbox, or even a cheap wired controller, and in my opinion that's a big W if you're on a budget but still want to compete at the top and want to challenge the best players. Pro number three, little to no input delay. Because you're pressing the buttons directly on your controller, there's no added input delay like you get sometimes with attachments or mods. Your controller is just working how it's designed to work, just in a new way, and that means every input feels snappy and instant. It's going to benefit you so much more in the future when you eventually master claw. Because as we all know, input delay on controller is one of the worst things that you can get. So having little to no input delay is going to help you improve, and it's going to make it much more easier to become a better player. Pro number four, skill increases over time. Once you learn claw, it becomes second nature and your skill ceiling goes way up. At first it's uncomfortable, but once it clicks, your edits, PS control and everything else just levels up because you're not limited by slow imports or delayed actions like you would be on non-claw. When you're on non-claw, you reach a certain ceiling gap, and that's when you feel like you need to switch to paddles or claw. This is when your skill will increase over time when you switch. Lastly, pro approved. What I mean by this is some of the best controller players play on claw. So names like Mero are all insanely mechanical players who've dominated using this grip in the competitive scene for ages. So it's not like claw isn't good, it's proven at the highest level, meaning it's capable of making you just as good. Even though claw has so many pros, it comes with cons as well. Now a con is, takes longer to learn than paddles. Claw takes longer because you'll be holding the controller completely different, using new fingers for different binds. It can take weeks of practice to feel comfortable, and for a lot of players, their gameplay actually gets worse before it gets better. Compared to paddles, claw takes way more time and patience. So now that we know the pros and cons of claw, let's move on to paddles. Before we get into the pros and cons, let's quickly break down what paddles actually are. They're extra buttons on the back of your controller, usually pressed with your middle finger or your ring finger. Most pro controllers like scuf, dualsense edge, or the Xbox Elite come with 2 to 4 paddles, and you can map them to any bind like jump, edit, reload, or switch weapons. The main point of paddles is that you don't need to take your thumb off the right stick, so your aim stays locked while you're jumping, editing, and building, just like claw, but without the weird hand position. So the pros of paddles is comfort. The biggest W of paddles is comfort. You hold your controller normally, no weird finger positioning like claw. You use your middle or ring finger to hit the back paddles, and your thumb stays on the right stick the whole time, so it feels more natural to you. The next pro is easier to learn. Compared to claw, paddles are way easier to learn. You're not retraining how to hold the controller, you're just learning new finger habits. Most people get used to it within a few days instead of weeks. After a few weeks on paddles, you'd be way better than you would be on a few weeks of claw, so that's why paddles is much more easier to learn. Another pro, fully customizable binds. You can map paddles to whatever you want, jump, edit, reload, anything, and once you get your binds right, it changes everything. Your skill gap increases and you become an even better player. Having that option to bind whatever you want to your comfort is going to help you that little bit more. Also, another pro, great for long-term hand health. Since you're not putting your hands in a weird position like claw, paddles are way better for long-term health. Less chance of cramps, finger pain, or long-term issues. If you play Fortnite for hours every day, this really matters if you're trying to compete for a long time and play long sessions, so you need to have good hand health, and paddles will help that. Lastly, game pro approved. Almost every top tier controller pro is using paddles now. You see it with scuf players, Xbox Elite players, and even PS5 Edge players. It's basically like the new standard in the comp scene, and there's a reason for that. So paddles is a really good switch. Again, even though paddles has very good pros, it comes with cons as well. So paddle cons, expensive. The biggest downside to paddles is the price. Most decent paddles controllers like scuf, DualSense Edge, Xbox Elite cost anywhere between £150 to £250 compared to playing claw on a regular controller. That's a massive jump, and it's not realistic for anyone. Another con is build quality issues. Also, as well as them being expensive, people have issues with paddles snapping or straight up stop working after a few months, and if that happens, that means you'd have to buy another one, which isn't good because they're very expensive, and it's not good in the long term if it's constantly happening every few months. Another con, input delay on the cheaper options. If you go for the cheaper options like strike packs or attachments, you might run into input delay or buttons not registering properly, and that tiny delay can make a big difference in Fortnite these days, so it's important that you find something good and reliable. Lastly, limited button access. Even with full paddles, you're still limited compared to claw. Claw gives you access to all the face buttons and shoulders at once. With paddles, you're usually mapping your top priorities like jump and editing, but you still have to take your thumb off for some things. So now that you know the pros and cons of claw and paddles, it's up to you what you want to choose and the sort of player you are. It really comes down to what works best for you. Claw is raw, responsive and cheap, but it's tough on your hands and takes time to master. Paddles gives you the same level of control, but with way more comfort and less strain, as long as you're willing to invest. For me personally, I've been playing with paddles for over 5 years, and I'm currently on the DualSense Edge. It's helped me become a way better player, and I've never looked back, and I can say I can compete with really good players now. So what I'm saying is go with what you prefer and run with it. Don't copy pros, go what's best for you, and also do not give up. It will take some time to learn and master both, but I can guarantee you will become a much better player if you switch. If you decide to switch to paddles, I've dropped a full video on how to learn paddles like a pro. This video will help you out massively, so the link will be in the description. But yeah, I hope this video helped you in any sort of way, and it's helped you decide whether you want to switch to claw or paddles. But that is the end of the video. If this video did help, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and also comment what you're considering switching to. I'd like to know. Also, join my Discord, links in the description. We're trying to get more grinders in there, so join up, and also follow me on Twitch where I go live. It will be much appreciated. But yeah, I'll see you boys in the next video. Safe.